Today is going to be a challenge, guys, because what I'm doing is I'm going to be asking the students to throw me some random questions for the speaking test, and I will try to demonstrate how I inject vocabularies into each and every response as best as I can. So, again, this is random and extemporaneous. So it's gonna be a challenge, but I'll try my best. So my name is Juni Torre, and I'm the coach for IELTS Einstein, and our kind questioner, or the one who will play the role of the invigilator, will be Mom Rosie. Thank you for doing this, Mom Rosie. All right, Mom Rose. Here goes. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, let's talk about part one, fixing things. Can you fix things?
Uh, as much as I would really like to be a handyman, the fact of the matter is I can't even fix a doorknob. So, inadvertently, whenever something breaks down in the place where I stay, I end up calling some people for help. Interestingly, earlier this morning, my faucet was kind of leaking, so I had to call the maintenance just to have it fixed. How embarrassing! I don't even have tools. So the answer to that question is no. Go ahead, ma.
But what things can you fix?
Um, Interesting question. I haven't actually thought about that. So maybe when it comes to technology stuff, for example, when it comes to like figuring out certain applications, but even that, I'm not really particularly good at it. So I end up uh, asking my kids about it because they're the ones who are more knowledgeable about these things. So embarrassingly, again, not much. Go ahead, Ma'am Rose.
Okay, let's talk about home and decoration. Can you
So
describe the place where you live?
I actually stay in a, one-bedroom flat located on the third floor of a building in Makati. I've been living here alone by my lonesome for the past 2 years already. And I decided to move here particularly because the neighborhood is right beside Bonifacio Global City, which to me is the most cosmopolitan of all cities in the country.
Okay, which room does your family spend most of the time in?
My family, they live in a separate place. It's a long story. But if you were to ask where I spend most of my time in, so that would be in the living room where I am right now. And this is where I conduct most of my classes. And the bedroom is the place where I spend most of my time in the nights, just before winding down and calling it a day.
What can you see from the windows where you live?
Oh, I like that question. I particularly chose this unit because it has a balcony that overlooks the skyline of TGC and also the adjacent neighborhoods. So that's the primary reason why I chose the place where I'm staying right now. It's just because of the view.
And what would you like to change in your flat?
Undoubtedly, cost of living is really heavy on the pocket. So, in answer to that question, I wish I could have a cheaper rent. And that being said, I'm actually actively searching right now for another unit to move to. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, The prerequisite is that the place has to have a good view, and it has to be more affordable.
Okay. What color would you never use in your home?
Mm, I like bright colors a lot. I think they're very stimulating. This place where I stay in has white paint on its walls, and it's much easier to decorate the surrounding areas with color, with sprinkles of color. So I think in answer to the question, anything bright is something that I would love to have in the place where I stay in. I think it spurs creativity a lot. And anything dark is something that's gloomy, very depressing to look at. So that's something I wouldn't have as a color for my day.
Let's talk about outer space and stars. Do you want to travel in the
Okay.
outer space?
Outer space intrigues me a lot. There's so much out there that we don't know, and it's such a ginormous, humongous place, and reminds us how tiny and insignificant we are as a species. So, in that sense, outer space really interests me, and I do love watching a lot of movies about outer space.
Are you interested in films about outer space and stars?
Yes, as I just mentioned, indeed. I think the film that comes to mind is Interstellar, and it somehow explores the possibility of um, experiencing one of the most mysterious phenomena in space, which is the black hole. So I love that film because it somehow brought us to the fictional but very intriguing concept what a black hole does if ever somebody gets to go there. Particularly if I have the time, I love the concept of finding yourself in a planet near the black hole, spending only an hour in that place, and realizing that 7 years has passed by on Earth within that span of an hour. It's very Einstein, and I really love that concept of how we are able to manipulate time.
Is it important to study stars?
I think it's very imperative. I think it is justifiable that the richest nations in the world spend billions of dollars in space research, not only because of the existential reasons, particularly the threat of climate change and how it threatens to end the world as we know it. um, there is also the very practical reason that the study of stars allows us to somehow locate um, something I'm sure that is out there in an environment that is akin to the Earth as we know it, as an alternative to this uh, planet that is suffering uh, nearly catastrophically because of climate change.
Hmm. And have you ever learned about stars and outer space?
I did learn it in school as part of my basic curriculum, but I think I learned a lot more from my own volition, from my own research. Like I mentioned earlier, it really intrigues me a lot, and particularly how the theories of Einstein, the general theory of relativity, conforms to the planetary motions and explains a lot of the phenomena that we see happening in space. Very interesting.
Okay. Let's talk about days off. What do you do when you have days off?
Okay, I'm happy we're talking about something less difficult. Days off. Interestingly, I don't consider myself as having any day off. I spend my bread and butter is training students for the IELTS exam, and this does entail significant amounts of time. And the drill is central to the methodology. And that said, I cannot resist having a day off because I would like to devote most of my time drilling students in order to improve on their skills.
When was the last time you had a few days off?
Um, Something I failed to mention earlier is occasionally I sprinkle my days with a singular day off by watching a film. So, like in a month, maybe there's one big film that comes out, and I do allocate this time uh, for a particular day off. So that only happens in a month, once in a month. And that the last time I had it was just yesterday, where I spent time with my kids when we watched Mission Impossible.
Let's talk about health. What kinds of exercise do you do?
Quite recently, I began a walking regimen. I was initially thinking of going to running, but I think I'd like to ease myself into the running plans by going to a walking regimen first. So I do that like 3 hours every single day, unless the weather doesn't permit. Is that the end
How,
of part one, ma'am?
sir, party na tayo.
Is that the end of part one? Okay, go ahead,
Okay,
ma'am.
let's talk about part three,
Oh
about
my God. Can we just
internet,
have five more questions? Okay.
internet, TV, and
Okay.
library. So, what's the difference between the internet and television?
Uh, Whenever I think of TV, the word that comes to my mind is obsolescence. It's interesting how we were able to witness how TV, which used to be the most powerful medium uh, just a few years back, is suddenly faced with the threats of extinction owing to the advent of the internet. Because everything that you can see on TV is now on the internet, and without pesky commercials that litter the boob tube every now and then. That's the primary difference. Um, it's really the advertising. There's less advertising on the internet.
Why do people like to read news on the internet instead on a TV?
I think that the primary reason is because of this news of demand, time uh, readily available. Unlike in TV where you had to wait for the newscast. And apart from that, whenever news breaks out, the internet is able to capture it as it happens with the live stream phenomenon that we see on Facebook, for example. So I think primarily the reason why people do watch the news on the internet is because it is current, very current, and it happens. I mean, the news is broadcast.
Okay. What are the differences between old and young people when they use the internet?
I think there are clear disparities between the two generations. For young people, primarily I know it because of the fun components of the internet. Mm, young people use the internet for games, for example. They use it for social networking, and they use it for viewing all sorts of crazy videos on YouTube, for example. But for older people, I think they look for the relevance of the internet in their lives, particularly when it comes to current events, for example. I think when it comes to older people, they go to articles. They go to web pages of various reputable broadcast networks. They read up, they inform themselves, they educate themselves, and they watch the videos corresponding to the.
Okay, last question. Can cybercrime be curbed?
I think it can be done with the right political will. Uh, I believe that the real problem of cybercrime emanates not from the criminals themselves, but from the greed of app developers. Unfortunately, fake news or all sorts of criminal activities, they somewhat spur a lot of engagement on the internet. And the more engagement, the more activities, the more advertising comes. So I don't think the developers of Facebook are quite able to control this because, to begin with, I don't think they really want to control it. So the answer to that question, I mean, it's a long shot. I don't think cybercrime can fully be eliminated. Wow, that's a lot of words. That's the end of it, Mamro.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Congratulations. You passed the IELTS speaking test.
Thank you. I want to go to the US. Give me a US visa. Okay, this is hard, guys. This is like extemporaneous speaking. And then I have to type in the vocabs at the same time. So I guess extemporaneous. I guess it kind of gives all of us an idea of how vocabs play into the speaking score. So any and every question, I will try to inject vocabularies. This is what runs through the examiner's brain. It somehow lights up in their brain when they hear these words. It lights up again, it lights up again, it lights up again, it lights up again, it lights up again. Before you know it, you're already at the end of the speaking test and the examiner has nothing else to do but to grade you a bad 9 because of all those neurons lighting up. Okay, so with the drilling, I hope we can be able to acquire or imbibe or inculcate. Oh, you like those guys? Acquire, imbibe, inculcate the vocabulary to our everyday. Any questions, ma'am? Guys, any questions? Okay, guys, that will be the end of our recording. No more questions. The British Council Award for the Partner of the Year. Thank you, people. Ending the recording. Hold on.